Hello and welcome to today's Wild Hearthstone deck tech and gameplay video on Reno Dragon Priest. Reno Dragon Priest does exactly what you would think from the list, or from the title of the list. It is a Reno deck, so it's a singleton deck, and the only reason why it is singleton deck is that we run all of the singleton payoff cards that make you want to restrict yourself. But we run all those cards that we can, whether it be old Reno or new Reno, or even cards like OG Zephyrus, or also Kazakus. Basically, if you have any cards that care about your deck not having duplicates, they're basically in the list, since they are sort of generically good in a wide, number of situations. You can even make the argument that they're good in a kind of boring way, really, but still good enough that there's no reason to not run them. But beyond the Reno list, we have, as you can guess from the other half of the name, dragon cards, and a lot of them. We have cards like Future Emissary, or the new, Time Winder, oh god, I'm going to ruin that name, Time Winder Zarmiri. Basically, cards that care about dragons and playing dragons, and a certain number of them, or even the cards that care about you holding dragons. That's what I was trying to get to. So cards like Bookworm are in the category of cards that care about you holding dragons. Soradormi, oh my god, goddamn WoW dragons with ridiculous names. Are cards like Soradormi and the Future Emissary can sort of ramp you. We have cards like, again, Scale Rider that get buffs for when you're holding dragons. Same thing like Blackwing Corruptors. Basically, any cards that either care about you playing dragons, care about you holding dragons, casting dragons, anything basically dragon-centric, for the most part, is going to go in this list. Beyond that and the Reno cards, we have just generally sort of useful glue cards, as I tend to call them. Anything from cards like the Horn of Etherian, or even Famished Fool to draw you some cards. We also have some degrees of interaction in the form of Cthulhu the Shattered, at least in its various constituent parts. Since the deck, one thing this deck lacks is a good way to close out games beyond just playing dragons and bonking your opponent's head. Sometimes Cthulhu the Shattered and its various pieces will help to sort of push you over the edge. And Cthulhu, like we talked about, is also in the category of removal, which the deck kind of needs. And we get in a variety of circumstances. Anything like cards like The Light It Burns, which are just removal spells, full stop, sort of without a whole lot of hoops to jump through. What's that? Where's the new one? Are cards like Fly Off the Shelves, which is both a removal spell, but also kind of cares about you holding dragons. Again, sort of in that cares about dragon territory. Or even Breath of the Infinite, again, a removal spell that cares about dragons. And like we talked about, if it's a card that likes you having dragons either in your deck or playing them from your deck, or having them in your deck, or whatever. Any cards that are dragon payoffs or enablers, for the most part, we're running them. The deck is not terribly that complicated. You just sort of play a control-y, value-y thing, play a bunch of dragons, try and bonk them in your opponent in the head until they are no longer in the game, and at worst, sometimes you'll just either win with Reno pings forever and ever, the occasional Cthulhu the Shattered, or even Kazakhstan with big scary treasures to sort of close out the game. But anywho, that's the basics of the list. Beyond, honestly, I would say the list is budget friendly, but it's not. You need a whole bunch of legendaries, not only in the dragon payoff cards, but cards like your singleton payoff cards. There's loads of legendaries required here. It's honestly not that budget friendly, but this is one of those, by and large, if you by some miracle either happen to have these cards or have the dust to blow and you want a deck that's going to have a whole lot of shelf life, this is a good deck for doing that. But it's not budget friendly, so do keep that in mind. It's really like if you have the money to spend, you're going to have it for a long time thing, but if you don't, go save your dust for other things. While the deck is fun and it's a good list, it's not exciting, and it's not gonna shoot you to the number one ranked in the world kind of list. It's just a good list all around. Anywho, thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like the video if you like it, subscribe if you like my grab bag of content and would like to see more in the future, And if you have any sort of questions, for the most part, about I don't have X, what about Y, I'll try and give some sort of replacement ideas for any questions you might have. Anywho, with that long, very rambling, and not the like 4th attempt of this deck intro that I've tried to make, with all that out of the way, we'll finally go on to game number 1. And game number 1 with our... Ooh. There we go. Thought the recording was going to explode for a second. Game number 1 with our little Reno Dragon Priest. And, we'll go ahead and get rid of the really expensive stuff. We can keep a Zephyrus in our opening hand, just in case we need something to, like, interact if they happen to be a more aggressive mage. Granted, most mages are not that. Were I a betting man, it's going to be probably something more aggressive. Might be some sort of, like, quest OTK thing. But if it is aggressive, I'd be very happy to be wrong. Okay. I don't think that's an aggressive deck, then. Again, we'll take it, though. I'm happy. Oh, God. Didn't expect that cough. Play our little surgeon here. I'm not going to try and pronounce what the bit is. It ships surgeon, but it's like something to do with a dragon pun. There's something in there, but I'm not going to sit here and just, like, struggle with it if I don't have to. See what our opponent does. I mean, okay, Primordial Glyph. Does he get something he can cast immediately? Nope. In the meantime, I guess we'll play an Amalgam of the Deep. Hopefully find a dragon and not a pirate. Yeah, Draconoid will work. And we just go face. If nothing else, we can always coin the Draconid if we, like, really want to. Or we can just do a scale replica and maybe play one of our, like, cheap dragons, like the Twilight Whelp or something, which I believe is the other cheapest dragon we have access to. See what our opponent's doing. Oh, is it no minion? Okay. Like all spell mage? I don't think I've ever seen a deck like this. Or at least not, least of all, not in testing with this list. But I don't think I can remember one anyway. Does that change my decision making? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we'll go ahead and do the scale replica. Why not? I don't think I need to be as aggressive here. I can just sort of, like, generally, you know, play dudes, progress the board state, and, like, you know, bonk our opponent in the dome. What are the other only, like no, or all spell mage payoffs? I know there's that one. That's not bad. Okay, there's one. That's hilarious. What was it? Summon, your deck has no make. Cool. That's weirdly, like, pretty good here. Just because, you know, a taunt in the way is a taunt. I think I actually will go ahead and shard this. There's not a whole lot else to do. And I guess we'll go ahead and do a Draconid operative. Blah, blah. Well, that's not going to do that much for me. Sure, Frostbolt, I guess. I think I can actually afford to be the aggressive deck, since I mean, how do I word this? From what I do know of the, like, all spell mage, I'm going to get those confused. From what I know of the all spell mages, like, a lot of their stuff is more RNG based kind of thing. So I can really sort of take advantage of that and just start going face and hope they don't have answers. Okay, Volcanic Potion. That's not that bad. It also hurts his board, too. What was that? Discover spell. Enough mana to play it. Cast a copy at a random enemy. Cool. That could... I mean, let me rephrase that. That could be the best option. I just would be very surprised if it was. I mean, minions, right? Yeah, if that went face, that would make that like a much more viable deck, just because it could spew out so much like damage early on. And honest, well, hang on, is that? Yeah, I think our plan is just go face with everything. We're gonna try and be the aggressive deck as a Reno deck, which is not a space you usually get to explore in any Reno deck, let alone like a Reno Priest list. If they happen to summon something, there we go, like big and scary, like another taunt or something, we can always just use the Maw of Cthulhu to get rid of it. Cool. It does kind of put a dent in the aggressive play. But he's going to spend his whole turn just getting rid of it. Okay. Oh. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, we'll do the Eye Cthulhu. Why not? Odds are it'll get rid of the copy. And again, a little bit of damage going face. Didn't, like, progress the board state, but again, we're, like, kind of in the driver's seat, weirdly. But I love... Don't take this as... I would hope this is not being misconstrued as some sort of slight on our opponent's deck. I love seeing people try stuff. I have not even thought about an all spell mage kind of thing, but I know you can do it. I mean, I might, honestly, after this video, after I record for this particular video, I might actually take a look at what the all spell mage payoffs are besides the two that we've seen. Wait, did you have that? Okay, you synthesized it. Okay. My brain was about to melt for a second there. Yeah, I guess we can just Wormrust Agent. Yeah, just go face. I guess heal? Huh. I hear cats frolicking in the other room. Normally, I try to keep a Zephyrus for like a more reactive play. Okay, that's a good one to get. That's really good, actually. Like, well good on you. Oh, hang on, we got the finale one, so we're gonna get rid of that. Get rid of his biggest thing. Well, wasn't exactly what I had in mind. I was hoping to get rid of that in a more permanent sense. Still feeling pretty good, though. And this makes sense for some sort of, like, got a low roll. That's great. This does make sense for a all spell mage. I am waiting for the new, I forgot what the name of the new set is. The whatever the tourist set whose name is in my head, but I can't remember. I do have a big spell mage sort of cooking for that. Does the board have dragons I need to worry about? It has a big scary 9/9, but do we care? Not really. Right? I mean, it leaves some things behind. Yeah, we can play the Zephyrus, and I think we can get a death here, right? I think it's 2 mana. Execute will work just fine. Even if I couldn't have gotten that, and my understanding of the card is incorrect, the goal was to get rid of the big scary thing. Execute will do that just fine. Can always play a Raid Boss Nixie if we need to. Weirdly, we're not going to get a whole lot of Sori Dormy kind of value out of this. Okay. Well, yeah, we're almost certainly going to play Anexia now. Is there any way I die? Because I'm going to spend I'm going to spend my whole turn removing their board. Yeah, I don't think there's any... I mean, there are certainly combinations of cards that can technically kill me, but, like, in a practical sense, I don't think we're in any, like, threat of dying. Just clean up the board. in case they get some weird, like, maybe generate one of those crushing wall style cards that cares about placement. Do have a big scary board though. It's awfully nice. And if nothing else, we could, you know, just play like an okay Reno Jackson healing for what, 15, 25 due to old Renethal. Okay. This is a weird one if you're running so many like random spell things like they appear to be doing, because you're not going to get like the biggest scariest elementals out of this, like if you're running like a more big spell mage, because I have done some testing with previous versions of big spell mage. I think it's even I'm almost certain I did a video on one, but anywho, the point being, there you go. Yeah, you want to, like, if at all possible, get, that's hilarious, get, like, you know, the biggest bang for your buck on that. Wait, do I care? Hang on. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Is there any... I can't think of any way that we can... Well... Yeah. In that case, I think we're just going to heal, play a Proto Drake, and everything else is just going to go face. I'm almost certain that's this, if I remember correctly, the second Cosmic Keyboard they played, so odds are... Well, it can't actually be... Well, hang on. No, it could in theory be a Reno list, because old school Reno Jackson and original Zephyrus do not have the stipulation that the new Reno does, where your deck has to have no duplicates, like, at game start. The old ones just care about you meeting a flat condition, so he could in theory have a Reno and heal, 28 and I'll cry. But if I were a betting man, I would say he's not going to have that. But still, again, I really love our opponent. Ooh. Huh. Am I misunderstanding immune? Can't be targeted by enemies or damaged. I guess it wasn't damaged. Okay. That's... Because it's like damage then freeze, right? That's the damage and freeze, whatever. I don't think it's... The freezing isn't contingent on the damage happening, I don't believe. I mean, good on him. This is actually going to buy them a turn. Sure. Yeah, they do, in fact... Okay, maybe we can find a good spell here and just end the game like that, which would be great. Discover Death Rattle minion if you have enough mana. Okay, we can dig a little bit. That's not going to help me. That's hilarious, but not good. First card each turn. Yeah, I guess we'll just do a Spawn on Azoth. Gotta be safe here, because they've actually managed to, buy themselves an extra turn. I thought I could get cute and get like a Naval Mine, or I think there's like a 2 mana 3/1 that when it dies deals 3 damage to a face. That sees play in like some of those like Death Rattle-y Priest decks. But anywho. Now, they do have to have, like, another, perfect answer. Not perfect. Another good answer. That's a good answer. That annoyingly does it. Yeah. That's kind of really annoying. Is that lethal? Right, I can do Renethal. We do a Time Winder. I guess just heal to use the mana. Yeah, we get an extra turn. And with the extra turn, we go face. Right? Yeah, bonk, bonk. There we go. Honestly, yeah, pretty good showing. this deck does a good job of showing, again, not only the strength of the list, but, you know, the flexibility that being a singleton list does give you. You can really sort of play well, okay. When I say reactive to your opponent, I don't necessarily mean reactive, but like your game state can change depending on what your opponent's playing. It's not strictly reactive, because in this instance I was able to be proactive in the early turns of the game, knowing that a lot of their removal, interaction, and spells was really RNG based, so that allowed me to be proactive. This deck is really good, and Reno decks as a whole are really good at letting you, like, I guess you call it, like, the ability to assess any given board state, and, you know, sometimes do the opposite thing and be aggressive as a Reno list like that. Honestly, not a whole terrible much to say. Like, yeah, good showing for the list. Not very exciting. It's not a terribly, like, complicated deck in its execution, but, you know, just a good, solid Reno deck that has a lot of mileage. But anywho, we'll go now on to game number 2. And game number 2 with our little Reno Dragon Priest. The Origami Dragon can go, but we'll keep a scale replica. Granted, we're not... Well, okay, that helps. I'm actually going to keep that, because there's a potential that some OTK, tog, waggly kind of shenanigans could happen. So, and if they... Granted, if that happens, we'd sort of just die without any sort of fanfare, but sometimes they can, like, break and miss on that, and a single silence can really mess them up. Beyond that, we can just, like we did in the first game, scale replica early on and just find things to do. Perks of it always drawing the lowest cost, and your lowest cost always being a one-cost thing, provided you haven't, you know, played either one already. It will give you something to do on the follow-up turn, at least. Our opponent's really in the tank here, which is odd. But hopefully they're here. Hopefully they're not a bot. That would be great. Yeah, it could be something more aggressive, but yeah, in my experience, I'll go ahead and end turn. Most Druid decks are sort of like what we're trying to do. They're slower, a little more late game oriented. I do see the occasional like Reno Dragon Druid thing, at which point, you know, we're doing very similar things in the abstract. Granted, individual cards vary from class to class. Oh, come on, opponent. There we go. Thank you. Go ahead, do the scale replica. And yeah, my original point was going to be, and if they are... I mean, it's like, the game can go either way, really. It just depends on really what each person has access to. They're forging. What are they forging? I guess we can do a horn. Do draw one. The only forge card in Druid that I see, if it isn't that, yeah, that there's like a, I want to say there's like a dual class one with like a warlock where like you have to like, if it isn't forged, you have to pay some downside. Never mind. It's a choose one thing. Like, disregard that statement entirely. In the meantime, just play some dudes. Play the whelp. Play the other whelp. Yeah, go ahead and go face. Our opponent isn't doing a whole lot for me to, like, make any sort of informed decisions on. They're just, like, playing cards. They aren't seemingly progressing a board state or any sort of game plan that I can, like, easily surmise. Ooh, okay. Man, I have one of these. I've been wanting this to work. I just haven't found a spot for it. That would be very nice. I guess we'll just play a Famished Fool. Usually you want to save for that to be infused, but while they're not really doing that much, I might as well apply some pressure and get some damage in. Next turn we can always Zephyrus for some board damage if we want, or maybe Eye of Cthulhu, all going face if they don't do anything else. But they can't really afford to just keep, like, sort of playing and passing for lack... I mean, they're not technically, like, with the tambourine here, it's not technically just play pass. But they're not doing a whole lot to interact with my board, which isn't great. They haven't even played any big spells, for lack of a better term. Okay, so it's cost. I thought it was spells in particular, but we're okay. In that case, I guess we'll just do the Light It Burns. Rest of the mana, Eye Cthulhu goes face. I mean, down to 1. Was there a way I could have... Did I brick that in any discernible way? There might have been a Reno or a Zephyrus wish in there that might have got him killed. I just can't think of one right now off the top of my head. Maybe like a Savage Roar? 2, 4, 6, 8... Yeah, it was Savage Roar. That would have been it. But we got there anyway. Luckily, we kept on to the Shard of the Naru. Granted, not for the reason we were talking about, some big scary board, but, you know, an army full of taunts. Lovely to get rid of that. Yeah, honestly, gone pretty well. Now, normally because these are particularly short games, I would normally try to increase the amount and give like another game in the video, but as evidenced by the fact this video is already going out late, I can't guarantee that I'm gonna have the time, just due to, you know, personal reasons and all that jazz. And honestly though, like, both of these games did good job of showing off the list. It's not a terribly complicated list, not for nothing. And as long as you have like some of the bigger dragons and the Reno cards, you can sort of tune the list somewhat to your available collection. I understand that sounds almost like oxymoronic, for lack of a better word, with a deck that has like so many pivotal legendaries, but yeah, that's also kind of the case for most Reno decks. And if you're ever gonna like save your dust up for any legendary cards, like all of the Reno ones, at least the neutral Reno ones, are like the thing you should save up for, because those will get you the most mileage over the longest possible, like, window. There we go. But anywho, all that rambling out of the way, thank you all so much for watching. Again, I apologize for it being a late video, and in this case, a shorter video, but again, personal issues with family and all that jazz, it just, you know, sometimes IRL things sort of force things to happen, whether you want it to or not. Anywho, thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like the video if you like it, subscribe if you like my grab bag of content and would like to see more in the future, and if you have any sort of questions, I'll try to answer. Say like, I don't have X, what about Y's? I'll try to be as nice as I can, though again, like I talked about, there are some decks, or sorry, some cards in the deck that are just required for it to work, i.e. like the Reno cards. Some of those are like non-negotiable for it to exist. But beyond that, I'll try and help out if you have any sort of questions. And if you have other nice and or constructive comments, go ahead and leave them down below, and I'll do what I can to respond to what I see. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.